But anyway, you went on to become a...
Well, then I after the school, an opportunity presented itself. I was only a fourth year, and Lufthansa started flying into Shannon for the trips to America, and they were looking for trainee aircraft mechanics. And I applied for it, and I got it. And I was in Shannon getting familiar with the super constellations and the 1049s and 1649s and the superstars. I was there for a year, and they sent me to Germany, and I was in Germany for 18 months, or a year, I don't know, either way. And I done fairly well there. And I was put in with the flight training school for flight engineers. And at night, there was another lad with me called Vincent Leddy from Newmarket and Fergus. He's dead and gone now. And we used to take our turns going up with the trainee pilots at night, flying over Hamburg. I'd done that for about maybe 6 months, 5 nights a week.
You were allowed to do that, like you were allowed to do that.
Oh, we were actually observers,
Yeah.
instrument observers on the panels and that, watching oil temperatures and air temperatures and all that sort of stuff. And we were flying in what they called, they were ZAB, 4-seater trainer aircraft. And after that, I came home, and then I had to go back, and I was getting a bit sort of, I don't know, it was betwixt and between. So anyway, they decided, well, okay, for the two of us to get experience. We were English speaking, of course, and I had a little spattering of German by then, and they offered me an assistant line mechanics job, of all places, in Dakar in West Africa. Right. So anyway, so I had nothing to lose. So I spent 6 weeks there, and then I went from there to Rio de Janeiro in South America, and I spent about 3 months there, and I said, fuck this for the lack. It wasn't my cup of tea. So I came home, and at that time the jets were starting to manifest themselves, and they could overfly, and they started to overfly Shannon. And I never thought, well, I'm never going to get back there, I'll be gone. So I was at home, and there was a chief mechanic, line mechanic with Air France, a man by the name of Bill Connolly, who came from Newmarket and Fergus. He was trained originally by the Air Corps, but he was a genius of a man. And I was saying to him, Jesus, there's no future. That fucking crowd, Aer Lingus, they're after selling off the gold plate Connies. They sold 6 aircraft. They were flying the Atlantic then at that stage. And as is usual with coalition governments, they sell off the best that they have, and they're still doing it. But anyway, I said to him, what do you think it will? And he said to me, look what is the old diesel engines and all that type of thing. Do you ever think about the sea? And I said to him, well, I didn't. I know nothing about it. I said, the only thing I know about a boat is there's a bow and a stern. Any more than that, I don't know. Give it a go, he says. So anyway, I resigned from Lufthansa, and I was walking down the docks one day, and I said, I've nothing to lose. And I walked in, this is incredible, into the Limerick Steamship office, 1957, 56, 57. And I asked to see the head engineer, or the marine superintendent as it was then, a man by the name of Sutherland. And I said to him, by the way, I said, I'm looking for a job as a fitter or an engineer or whatever they call them aboard one of your boats. And he looked at me and he says, are you serious? I am. I says, I know nothing about ships, mind you. And God, he says, you might be just what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You see. Then he looked at my papers and he looked at what I'd done, and he questioned me up and down about diesels. So I answered all this question. Well, now it's like this, he says, I can give you a job straight away. A second engineer on the Galtee. She was 370 odd tons, running between Limerick, Galway, sometimes Sligo, Liverpool, and sometimes south run Phoenix, Liverpool, a weekly run, and we'd have every weekend at sea. So I remember, and I says, when do I have to start? She's sailing this evening, he says, at 8 o'clock. I says to myself, holy God, what have I done? So I went home, got us my father, and I told him what I had done. And what about this aircraft stuff? I says, that's history, Dad. I says, I have to move on. So anyway, he well, okay, so I packed a bit of gear that I had, and first things come on, he brought me up to the Mount Elephant, St. Alphonsus the Fathers, and there's an altar there dedicated to the Mother of Perpetual Succor. And he made me kneel down there and asked for protection. And I remember the Deserata, remember almost Gracious Virgin Mary. I must have prayed that about 4 times. But then he took me down pretty well, and are you sure you want to do this? He says, you'll do one trip, he says. You never stick it. Oh, he says, I'll stick it. So, and fair enough, I went out, and at Fines, she started rocking at Fines in the Shannon. Right, you know that. But I'll never forget, I was sick as a dog for about maybe 6 or 7 weeks. And the chief engineer of our Paddy Downs, God rest his soul, he's dead and gone now too. It was a namesake of mine, but no connection. He came from Kilrush. And he, then there was Paddy Histon was master, and then Mickey McMahon was mate. Mickey McMahon was the last surviving member on Scattery Island. They died a couple of years ago. But I stayed on it about 12 months. Right? So actually when the time then I started learning, I had to read up a lot about boats and that type of stuff. Well, the engines were no problem. They were on the Galties. She had a 9-cylinder works pour, right, 1,000 horsepower engine with tail shaft generators and that, and 2 auxiliary generators. But which was one 3-cylinder Leicester and a 4-cylinder, and they were no problem to me. But it used to be tough enough. Jesus, you'd be thrown around like a cork. So, and you can imagine the winter out there in the Atlantic, and it is the roughest coastline in the world when it's rough. But anyway, I stuck that. So
What was the money like?
the money I was on.
What were you like getting in Lufthansa?
What was I getting? When I was with Lufthansa, at that time, I had 30 quid a week.
30. That was good money then.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I was on around, I'd have been on around 200 a month.
50 a week, yeah.
Yeah.
Great money then.
Good money. But that was the thing. But anyway, I spent about 12 months on it, and then I had to do relief on the others. The Limerick Steamship Company they had I think they had 5 or 6 ships. They had the Mulcair, the Derrynane, the Plassey, which were the ground off the Aran Islands, the Galtee, the Lanarone, and the Shannon. I would have served I didn't serve on the Lanarone, I served as the second engineer on all the rest of those ships. And then after 2 years with the Limerick Steam, one day, Southern, he called me into the office. He says, by the way, he says, you're wasting your time. This company, he says, you can stay by all means, there's no problem, he says, but I think you should go and do your marine engineering certificates. So I said to him, I knew more or less what was involved. I'll make arrangements, he says, for you to transfer to Irish shipping. So that's all right, I thanked him, and I didn't apply, he just done. Now, what I didn't know then, that the Limerick Steamship Company, Palgrave Murphy's of Cork, and the Headline in Belfast, those 3 companies, they managed ships for Irish shipping, right? And it was no problem. It was like transferring from these were coastal. The Headline were on the Atlantic, and Palgrave Murphy's, they were on European waters, as with the Limerick Steam. But I came into Galway one Friday evening. We said then, there was a letter there for me to please join the Irish Roads as 4th engineer officer. Right.
That was a big step up, was it?
Oh, well, I mean, that's an ocean going boat. So anyway, Jesus Christ, I said, what's this? And of course, I was delighted. So I went up to the skipper, Paddy Hist. The skipper says, you'll be sailing around without me. Why, where are you going? I'm joining that ship across the way there. The Rose, he says. Yes, I says. It was the first time that an Irish ship registered in Galway was in Galway in her home port of register. So there was, the mayor of Galway and all the dignitaries were down round, and it was a big thing. So
What year was that?
Oh Christ, 57.
Roughly, yeah.
Around 59, I'd say.
59, yeah.
So, or 80. So then I was with Irish ship, and I was on the Rose, out gone from across the Atlantic, maybe from ports in England to Canada, and then the fair. Then I was on the Heather. She was a smaller boat again, on coastal trade for a while. I was on the Spruce and the Poplar. The Poplar were Atlantic boats. They were 12 to 14,000 tonners. And then I was on the tankers, the big ships. So I done my exams. I got a second combined steam and motor that I could serve as an engineer on steam ships and motor ships, foreign going. That means anywhere. And I could serve as an engineer on any ship, right? But then after a while, I was broke down the ranks again. I had no steam experience, right? So I was taken off the, what was she? I think I was third engineer at the time at the Poplar. I was taken off the Poplar, and I was sent to Fairfield, Govan, outside Glasgow. The state, they were building two big tankers, the Blackton and the Hawthorn. And I served as on the construction, supervising on those boats.
And who owned them both?
What?
Who owned them?
The government, Irish ship.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
And then I done the maiden voyage on the Blackton, and she was my last ship. I was about 8 or 9 years at sea altogether. And then I was home on leave. I'd been away for over...
Just a matter of interest, did you ever call into Westport on a ship when you were on the ships?
I did, the Galtee.
The Galtee,
I
yeah.
was in Westport in 1957.
Yeah. And what were you bringing into Westport at the time?
General cargo to Kelly's, Malloy's and all that. Westport, actually, I was annoyed there some weeks ago. They had this thing, Westport 250, an air show with a history of marine that this town has.
Yeah.
And as I recall, in those years, they'd have maybe 8 or 9, maybe 10 boats a month coming in from various parts of Europe, bringing in timber and coal and various other things.